Good morning, folks. Friday, last one of the week, thank Christ. And I have to say, there's nothing really exciting in the papers this morning. Nothing to get the blood pumping, to get the rant on, except for maybe the record. And it's too early in the review to get a rant on. But that's the way it is. Anyway, good morning, folks. Good morning, Stephen Bank here, Aki Mad, Jeanette Gilfillan, last Braveheart, June. Rosalind. Who else we got? June, Mark, Kirsty, Aki's, Melanie, Gillian. Good morning, Gillian. Good morning, Anne. Morning, Anna. Morning, John. Morning, Martin the Heavy. Good morning, Martin Williamson. Good morning, Ruth Pitt. Ange. Eddie. Let's go in the other direction. Good morning, Diane. Morning, Margaret. Morning, Desiree. Morning, John Docherty. Morning, Leipson. Morning, Millie. Right. Numbers are climbing nicely, folks. Morning, Henry. So let's get this broadcast underway, shall we? Andy Two Davies out the trucking at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it is 11 degrees. The high today will be 14, so temperatures are starting to drop again, folks. There is rain in the forecast for here in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, and the humidity is at 87%. Wind speeds gusting at 24 to 41 kilometres per hour, or in all money, 14 to 25 miles an hour. And the pollen count is low, main allergen is grass. That's the weather here in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. If you want to know what the weather's like where you are, look out your own bloody windy. All right, first up this morning, we've got the Rancid. And the Rancid follows on from the failure that is Anna Sarwar at First Questions yesterday. And it tells us that retail crime's an issue. So the headline is, busted, police swoop, nets, crooks and weapon hidden in a bag. And they warn us that it's organised crime gangs which is ticked up the retail crime figures. Now that, as we all know, is bollocks. Organised crime gangs and the shoplifting circle's been around for a long time. In fact, there's been TV programmes and everything about it. But that's not the reason for a tick-up. The reason for a tick-up, which this rag is trying to hide, is the cost of living crisis, of course. People can't afford to feed themselves. And there's a few things in life we all need. Air, water, food, clothing, heating, shelter. And the real reason behind the tick-up in retail crime is people need to eat. And at this point in time in the cost of living crisis, people can't afford to eat. But here we're being told that it's organised crime gangs. Bollocks. There's always been shoplifting to order. The organised crime gangs have been around for a long time. What's really ticking up shoplifting figures is Granny lifting that block of cheese, or Mammy stealing something to feed the kids. That's the truth behind it, no matter what this fucking rancid rag tries to tell us. So that's the record this morning. Next up, we have the Scotsman. We'll put it up. And once again, the big sellers when it comes to rags in Scotland avoid the big story of the day. Galleries face closure risk as maintenance bill hits 20 million. I'll bet you a pound to a penny they don't fucking close. I'll bet you a pound to a penny they don't. These cultural venues are very important, and 20 million for maintenance will be found. Simple as that. And then, of course, there is a picture of the Dark Lord there, but he's a byline in this rag. A byline. That's because they don't want it to be the main story. So we'll take that down and get rid of it once we find it. And of course, after the Scotsman this morning, we have the fail, so we'll stick the fail up. And the fail, of course, being an English rag, printed here in Scotland and published here as a Scottish rag, we have the main story of this point in time here in the UK, and that is Mandelson finally sacked. Starmer ignored string of warnings. Starmer, let me make this clear, folks. Starmer ignored no string of warnings about Peter Mandelson's behaviour. Peter Mandelson was dusted down and dragged out his fucking crypt because him and Trump had something in common. And that's common denominator was Epstein. Mandelson was deliberately dusted down by the state, and we're not talking about political parties here, we're talking about the state itself, the living, breathing entity that is the state. He was dusted down by the state and sent to America as the ambassador because he had something in common with Trump. And the UK needed commonality with the criminal that is Trump in order to be able to get some leverage looking for a trade deal. So this Starmer ignored string of warnings. That's bollocks, folks. Mandy was dragged out of his fucking crypt, dusted down, stuck in a new suit in the form of the diplomat, and sent deliberately to Washington because he had something in common with Trump. And the UK state thought it would give them leverage with Trump. That's the fucking plain truth about why Mandy was dragged out of his crypt and dusted down. So this nonsense, Starmer ignored string of warnings. No, Starmer was given all the correct information and told this is the right guy for this job because him and Trump have something in common. Something the base need to keep hidden in common. And that was Epstein. So this rag, although attacking Starmer, which we expect for a right-wing loony rag, it's no telling us the truth, folks. The truth is that Mandy was dragged out of his crypt, dusted down, stuck in a diplomat suit and sent to Washington because him and Trump had something in common. And the thing they had in common was Epstein. For Trump, it might have been wee girls. I'm sure for Mandy, it was wee boys. But hey-ho, Epstein was a fixer for the rich and famous. That's how he made his money. He was no fucking financier at all. He was a blackmailer and a fixer. Simple as that. Right, after the fail, as always, comes the bloody Express. So we'll stick the Express up and see what it's got this morning. And by the way, there is really only one story out with the Scottish papers. The main 4 rags that sell here in Scotland. Because they don't want the Scots knowing what's going on. They main 4 rags. But we'll stick up the loony rag, the Express. And the Express has weak Starmer under fire for Mandelson fiasco. They say it wasn't a fucking fiasco. The state selected Mandy specifically because he had that in common with Trump. And this UK needed leverage. Leverage. In order to get a decent deal with Trump and the USA. And that's why Mandy was dusted down and pulled out his crypt. This nonsense. Weak Starmer, fuck all. Starmer had nothing to do with his decision. If you don't know by now that these people are only puppets, frontmen for an existing entity, then you're not paying attention. Simple as that. So, Starmer was dragged out of his crypt. Sorry, Mandy was dragged out his crypt deliberately because of his links to Epstein and Trump's links to Epstein. Don't let these people try and fool you with their nonsense. Right, next up with the Times, and it's on the same story, of course. All the right-wing rags are attacking Starmer over this morning. But I say, Starmer had very little to do with it. And Mandelson, I was queer about links to Epstein. PM under pressure. Well, that's for sure. He is under pressure. And the picture of that frail-looking man with the bonnet and the dark glasses, apparently he's the guy that killed Charlie Kirk. He doesn't look as if he's got the strength to lift a rifle, never mind fucking fire one. And I'm hearing a lot of rumours about Kirk being targeted by Israel because he turned on Israel and their behaviour in Gaza. Whether that's true or not, or whether it's just one of these conspiracy theories, one will not know. But Mandelson was queer about links to Epstein. Well, he couldn't very well fucking hide it because it was documented. There's even court documentation of his links to Epstein. So, this is nonsense. Mandelson was queer about his links. He didn't need to be queer about his links. As I've just said, he was selected specifically because of his links to Epstein. Specifically because of those links. Because that's the way the state operates. Right, of course, after the Times, generally with the Telegraph, so let's see what nonsense it's got for us this morning. There is nothing to get our teeth into here, folks. Starmer faces MP's fury over Mandelson scandal. Well, the state can afford for Starmer to be kicked out the door. It can always select another fucking puppet. And no doubt it's already got the process in place. No doubt it's already got the process in place. But Starmer faces MP's fury over Mandelson scandal. Well, if I was a Labour MP, I'd be fucking raging about it and all. Because they all knew what we knew. And what Starmer knew. And that was that Mandelson was a bad one. But the state decided that that bad one was the right bad one to be there to manipulate Trump. Simple as that. So that was the Telegraph. Let's get short of the Telegraph. Next up we have the Eye. And it's on the same bloody story. They're all in the same story except for Scotland's papers, because we're not supposed to know about this stuff. Mandelson's exit leaves weakened Starmer facing wrath of Labour. Aye. Because let's face it, he was never selected for the interest of a political party. He was selected for the interest of the entity called the fucking state. The state was protecting itself. And the one thing the state doesn't like is change. And that's why Farage is coming to the fore, because when he gets in, if he gets in, he's just another fucking state puppet. There's a reason why the media bends over backwards to give Farage airspace when actually his political kudos and weightings means that he should be fucking obscure, like the Lib Dems and the Greens. So don't be fooled by fucking the Farage phenomena. It's being orchestrated. It's being engineered. It's being manufactured by the entity that is known as the state. Right, what's really going on? The US is on verge of civil war, and soon as that starts, Putin will invade Poland, etc. Class action, that's quite a prediction, dear boy. You might not be too far off the truth. I guess it's a watching brief, but that is quite a prediction. Hey. Thanks very much for the super chat. Class action, thank you very much. Right, so Mandelson's exit leaves weakened Starmer facing wrath of Labour. Yeah, well, that's because political parties as entities still actually believe that they have fucking influence. Looking at the history of the last 20 years, I can assure you that is not the case. And it's up with the eye, let's get shot of that. And behind the eye, we have the Metro. So let's see what the Metro's got for us this morning. And that's got another variation on the same story. Mandy, it all ends in tears. And it does end in tears for Keir. It just accelerates his exit stage left. And I'm going to join class action here in a prediction. Depending on how this budget goes down in November, that will depend exactly on how much longer Starmer has to be in the hot seat. I'm afraid there's not much talent down there in Westminster. So even when they replace Starmer, they're still going to have a team of fucking incompetence behind the next PM. So doesn't matter what happens with Starmer. When he goes, the next one up is just going to be another fucking tragedy. Another incompetent idiot selected specifically to be the front man of the incompetent organisation called the state, which is trying desperately to stop time moving forward. There's no progression in the state. The state's been static for the last 300 odd fucking years. Sorry, I'll take that back. There was a bit of progression in the early 1900s. The state's been back to its normal state of stagnation for the last 100 odd years. Right, so that was the Metro. Let's take that down. We've got a Scottish rag up next, so it won't be Mandy as the problem, as the main story. I can assure you that, because the big four in Scotland, as per usual, when there's a big UK scandal, they're nowhere fucking near to be seen. Because Jock hasn't to know how poorly the state manages the affairs of state. So what's the Herald got for us today? Because it will be nowhere near the big story. So let's have a look, shall we? And note, this is paper number 3 to the big four selling here in Scotland. Delays to Scots road repairs sees fines of 2.4 million. Now this, it says here, is transport companies who have been fined for not fulfilling their contract agreements on repairing roads. But this, I'll tell you how badly and how quickly this story in the Herald was thrown together to divert Scots from what was going on. Transport companies don't repair roads. That's fucking construction companies. That's how quickly and how poorly this article, to divert the mind of the Scot, was thrown the fucking together. It tells us there that transport companies were fined 2.4 million for not meeting their contractual obligations to fix the fucking roads. I've been in transport all my life. I've never fixed a fucking road once. I've utilised the roads. I've driven right round these islands on the roads. But none of the transport companies I've ever worked for, or when I own my own transport company, never fixed a fucking pothole in my life. Simple as that. That's how quickly and how poorly this diversionary story was put together. It states here that transport companies rather than construction companies were fined 2.4 million for no meeting their obligations. You're starting to get a picture here, folks. We get this daily when I point out to you that the big four in Scotland are nowhere near the big stories and the big issues when it comes to the matters of state. This is how propaganda works. The four rags, the Rancid, the Scotsman, the Herald and the Scum are the four big papers in Scotland. And as you've noticed, 3 of them so far have avoided the big political scandal of the present time. Isn't that interesting? So if you're outside Scotland looking in, you'd be saying, what the actual fuck? And I've looked at the English papers a day. They're all on the Mandy story. Them all. Right, so that was the Herald. Next up, we've got the National. What's the National got for us this morning? The National has MOD blasted for secrecy over serious Trident incidents. Scottish Government is given no information. Defence is reserved. It's no the business of the Scottish Parliament. It's no the business of the Scottish people. It's a bit like the scandal at the heart of the state and Mandelson and Epstein. It's no the business of the Scottish people. So here we have another Scottish rag. No fucking there is the headline. There is a byline, like the rest of them, but no, there is a headline. And these papers don't sell. They're just bits of fucking paper that sit on supermarket fucking displays and shop displays. Hard copies of newspapers just don't fucking sell. Right, let's move on. But the reason why the Scottish Government is not informed about serious incidents involving nuclear fucking waste at Faz Lane or Coalport is because it's not our business. Our business is not to ask why. We're the fucking dumb jocks. Our business is to do or die. Get your head wrapped around that, people. So we don't need to be given information on the pollution of our lands and the fact that having these very dangerous weapons in the vicinity of our biggest city, along the biggest waterway, is the reason why cancer fucking is probably the reason why cancer rates are so high here in the west of Scotland and round about Glasgow. But ours is no to question why. Ours is just to do or die as the state sees fucking fit. It's one of the reasons why we need independence. Right, let's get into the National. Right, National's gone. After the National, we have the Scum. And we don't put the Scum up. But this is another one of the big four. Right, what's that got? Trump's ally assassin. First picture of Charlie Kirk's killer. And that was that cap, sunglasses, frail looking person that was on the front of the Telegraph and on the front of the Times. Looked as if that person was using a stick to walk. Be lucky if they could pick up a fucking spoon. Never mind a fucking sniper rifle. But hey-oh. Right, next up we've got the Guardian. So let's see what the Guardian's got for us today. And the Guardian has PM faces questions over judgment as he's forced to sack Mandelson. And then, of course, there's the picture of the alleged Charlie Kirk killer there. See, that person looks in the picture on the left-hand side as if he's walking with a stick. Looks like a frail person. Now, apparently the picture on his shirt was a pro-Trump, pro-trans, sorry. Apparently the picture on his shirt is pro-trans rights. But as I say, that person doesn't know as if they could pick up a fucking rifle, never mind fire it. That wee frail shooter that they've got here, that looks as if you put the butt of a rifle again it and pulled it, then the recoil would probably snap that fucking shoulder. I think we're being had. That's for sure. But PM faces questions over judgment as he is forced to sack Mandy. Telling you, Starmer and them had no fucking say on Mandy being selected. The state selected Mandy because he had something in common with Trump. And that commonality is Epstein. I don't think, I think you're right there, Stephen, that this is orchestrated for a pop at the fucking trans community in America. You know, this guy's pro-trans rights. Interesting, isn't it? Really interesting. But what I do have to say is, folks, the newspapers today were not interesting. Not in the slightest. Peter Mandelson being brought back into government ending the disaster is not a fucking news story. It's history repeating itself. Because this is strike 3. And if he survives long enough and the state deems it necessary, they'll drag him out his fucking crypt again and dust him down and put him up for strike 4. That's for sure. Right. Let's hope the Daily Star's got something light and uplifting for us. Because that's where we're at, folks. We're at time for the Daily Star. Which is just about right, because we're at 10:56 and this is a half-hour long programme. So we'll pop up the Star and see what it's got for us this morning. And it has Best TV Presenter Reveals. Lineker, I'm never going back to the BBC. Gaz, I'm doing great. So there you go. Even after leaving the BBC and the whopping big 1.6 million a year salary he was on, apparently he's still making similar sorts of money for being a freelancer. And good on him. Because to be fair, what Lineker was saying wasn't controversial. It just wasn't on the company line. He was telling the truth about Israel and Gaza. He was telling the truth about the motives of Israel. He was predicting exactly what was going to happen to the people of Gaza, and it went against the UK state narrative. And he worked for the UK state broadcaster. The clue is in the name, British Broadcasting Corporation. So good on you, Gary. And apparently the best TV presenter thing is because they know Ant and Dec, after 16 or 17 year fucking run, has been awarded the best TV presenters on these islands. So good on you for that as well, Gary. Because Ant and Dec are a pair of spanners. But hey ho. But Ant and Dec have been around that long that even I've fucking heard of them, and I haven't looked at a TV setting. Must be at least a decade and a half now. So here you have it. Right. That's it for this morning. That's it for this week, folks. Obviously, we'll be monitoring the news output and the rags over the weekend, and David and I will be back on Monday to talk about whatever the topic of the day is, or topics of the day. But at this point in time, the topics are quite easy to work out. There's war coming, there's war being fought, and economic disaster is an ongoing, and incompetence in management of the affairs of state is an ongoing. But as I say, that's quite deliberate. That's quite deliberate. At this point in time, the state knows that the people are unhappy with it. It's going to fucking protect itself. So it's sowing division among the subgroups within the state. So that means the Jocks, the Welsh, the Irish, the Blacks, the Whites, the Browns, the Catholics, the Protestants, the Jews, the Muslims, wherever they can sow fucking division, they will. But as a final thought for this week, remember, while you're being told to hate the other is also you. Because there's only one fucking race. And that's the human race. Have a nice weekend. Look after each other. See you Monday morning. 10:30. Don't be late, or you're on the fucking naughty state, which is back there somewhere. All right. Bye for now. Look after yourselves. Thanks to moderators. Thanks to anybody that's made a contribution to the Food Bank Fund this morning. See you Monday.